So the bracketing, the main bracket, attaches the motorcycle up under there to the engine. That's the top one. And there's another one right here. And the lower one is up under here. I don't know if you can really see the lower one right up there. It's like way up under there. Pretty much behind the wires right there. You got one bolt there, and then it goes all the way towards the back. So around the back side, on the little bracket up under there. The problem is we think this bracket was not completely like 90 degrees. So this back wing one that wings up, we can't get the bolt in. It's like 1/8 of an inch off. And you just seen that leak there. And you just seen the leak there. So as we were prying the bracket up, the pry bar slipped and hit the oil line up under there. So we're gonna have to replace that. So we're gonna get everything on and try to figure out how to get that one in. Might have to literally take it apart and break the weld off and re-weld it on. All right, and now we got this. And to get this little bracket up here on this one right here, yes, you have to, I take the chrome cover off. So there's a bolt. Let's see, the bolt, well, actually really the nut right there, take that off, pull this all the way back, and there's a little clip here kind of holding it on, so that comes off. Then you have the oil tank like right behind it. To get to the oil tank, trying not to basically have to take off my tire and fender. There's another little itty bitty nut down there, which is very hard to get a socket on because the fender's in the way. And then all the other nuts to get it off are, guess what? Behind the battery. So you have to take off all the covers, batteries, and pull the whole battery off and take the battery thing off to get to the bolts back there. So once you do that, you can loosen up the oil tank and move it away. And then this bracket, this U-bracket, you have to widen it up a little bit, slide it as you can, and pushing the fender, because the fender's pretty much almost touching this main frame piece here. And then once you get it all in there, then you pretty much, all I did was take a clamp and clamp this down and then push the bolts in and then screw them down. One of the pictures has the nuts up on the top, but obviously you see how it's like literally almost touching it, and I don't really want it to wear a hole into it. It's loose right now because I haven't tightened everything up because I don't know where it needs to sit to join it to the actual sidecar. So we got you had some main bracketing pieces in here, like basically you had that just sitting in there. That was just to hold it to the wooden box it was in. So you pull those out, and then we had to figure out how, if this, you got the longer one and the shorter one, we just got to figure out which side. The short one might go here. So literally these just slide in, and then you can tighten them down, move them to whatever direction you need to move them to, and this whole thing twists, and it goes in. So we got to figure out the measurement for that. Now these, the threaded rods with the little eye hook there, go into this part right here, but we're missing something that goes in there. I just emailed the company. I think they forgot to put in the 2 pieces that go here and the one in the front that connects this. So literally you'll have this connect, it'll go attached to the motorcycle through here. So we got that part, we understood that. Same thing with this one. Once we get this aligned to whatever it needs to go to, it'll attach to the main piece down there. Same thing with the front. So once you got the front up here, this bottom one, whenever we adjust it in and out and through, it'll attach here. And then the piece that we're missing is this front one. We don't know how it gets attached there. I think it's probably just another eye bolt that comes up through it with where you attach the bolts together like this. I think we're just missing them. And then the top one attaches to the top part up here. And that'll be everything installed. We just gotta wait and see if we can get some more pieces. But yes. All right, so there is the back end part of it. On the bottom part of the bracket on the rear part. Yes, you can tell I have literally, when I use the pry bar to pry this one up, it's just literally off by a little bit. We pried it up, but it still needs to come towards, we'll just say the driver's side, whatever, the left side, it needs to come towards. And we nicked the hose. Thought we just loosened the clamp up, but no, we nicked the hose. And as you see, here's the bolt. It's gotta go in and screw in. We just can't seem to get it right. But everything else is super tight on it, so we might have to take it to a machine shop so they can kind of recut it and readjust it to where it needs to go. Since we think the main bracket down here, this one that gets clipped up there with these two bolts, and we think that one might be just not at a 90 degree, and it was angled, like angled a little bit, and it's literally like not even, it's like a 1/16 of an inch off. So we got the missing eye bolts in, stuck them up in there loose for now. Now we got to figure out the angle of all these little bars have to go. At first I thought these were supposed to go straight up and down, but as I put them straight up and down, the front one can kind of line up, but the back one did not. So I'm like, okay, well maybe I do the front one straight and then the back one angled. And then I tried to do that, and then the front bar was hitting my pedal there. So I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. So I angled both of them, like, oh, that makes so much more sense. So we're gonna get them angled here, get them to the right location area, and then get everything lined up, because I have the bike semi-upright, trying to get it up closer, or up straight up, since I don't have one of those specially made shop like ramps to put the bike straight. But it's somewhat up straight. It's leaning a little bit to the left, so I just got to tilt it just a little bit more to get it aligned to go straight up and down. And then obviously the cart is facing, let's go that way, so it's kind of facing down that way. So once you pick it up and then pick the bike up a little bit more that way, and then we'll get it aligned up, and then we'll do some measurements as we hook it up, and then see how straight the bike is. And I figured out how to get all the bracketing on, but now I got to, look how crooked it is. It's straight, but it's leaning in. So my toe was it? No, toe in's good, but the lean, it's leaning in. So now I gotta loosen up some of the brackets, or loosen up some of the bolts and readjust. All right, the straightness, the bike's up straight, the straightness is there, but it's leaning in, like in. So I got to loosen up the bolts and re-shift the stuff. I probably need 2 people with this one, just so I can hold the bike and then shift up the brackets and tighten them, because I have some of them loose and some of them tight. And a whole bunch of boards on my creeper trying to lift it up, but you see how it's sagging in the back right here? So that means these ones I had to loosen up and have somebody pick up on the back end of the cart, just so I can tighten the bolts where they're supposed to be. Because otherwise the front seems like it's fine. It's like level, and the toe in toe out's good. But the back end is just like low riding and dragging kind of thing. But I also don't have a couple of bolts down there tightened either. But this is how it goes. They actually go in at an angle down there, so they're not even upright. The shorter one goes in the front, the longer one goes in the back, obviously, because the longer one has to reach in farther. I tried switching around just to make sure, and no, back one didn't even come close. So if I could have gotten it in, this cart would have been like this going in towards the bike. So, but and then these threaded rods that go in, this one was so much easier to thread in. That one I threaded in kind of right above where that nut is, and that's as far as I can get it, which is weird because the rod is kind of the same length as the tube. So I think when they machine the tube, the threading on the inside's not as well. So I couldn't get that one threaded all in. So that one's farther out anyway. So I put that one in the front and put this one here in the back because this one threads in a lot more. This one's, I think, at its max for the threading. So it's threaded all the way in. But I'm still gonna have to pick up on it and adjust it. I have a feeling it's gonna be dealing with this because once I pick up on this, this bar is gonna shift like this, and then I'll be able to, so that means I gotta loosen that one up in there, so when I spin it, it'll spin up and then I can shift everything. It'll pick the butt up. And another thing to watch out for is when you have pretty much those, and like every single bolt loosened, and you go to put these on, straighten out the bike, and as I'm shaking and shifting to try to get this to line up better, and then go in there, yeah, the bike will go and fall onto your cart. And then since everything is loose, these things will slide out, pop out, and pop out. So pretty much I had to start over again because the bike ended up leaning on the cart and popping those out because I had every bolt loose. So when you get, it's kind of like you have to tighten one just a little bit to where it has some friction, so it doesn't just slide right out if you're shifting the bike or shifting the cart around to get it to the line up right, to make it pretty much perpendicular with each other. Lots of wood blocks, creepers, jacks. All right, I almost got it there. I have everything out now because I tightened a lot of it up, and see, it looks good, but then I sit down. And if you look, it looks like it's now too high. So what I'm going to have to do is re-loosen again. Trust me, I've loosened and tightened, and shifted and moved and multiple times now for probably about 20 minutes to try to get this aligned. Yes, you can do some measurements or do whatever, but I'm one person, and no matter where you measure it, you still got to shake it and move it around, and that just doesn't work. So maybe if I had an actual professional like lift and able to hold everything up, but no, I'm using wood blocks, creepers, jacks, and whatever I can get a hold of. So I gotta loosen some more bolts and shake it around a little bit and try to get it to lower a little bit. Voila, I think I finally got it pretty decent. I think it's off just a tiny bit, but there's no way I can move those brackets anymore. So it's a lot lower now and more level to the ground. Now the only thing is, okay, we got some wiring for the taillight over there. Got to figure out where it gets wired into the bike. And of course this one's got disc brakes, so hydraulic brakes. So now I got to figure out where this gets connected. It's actually a quick connect. So you pop it up kind of like a little air hose, pop it off, and then it's got a little adapter in there with a little hole for it to bleed through, I guess, for the hydraulics. So I'm assuming it's connected somewhere on my master cylinder. Usually that's where it goes, I would think. It's the only place where my hydraulic stuff is. Just gotta figure out where it is. So it's time to pull the book out. And what else is left? Oh yeah, the hole I punctured through my little line down here. Popped it off. And yep, I had this tiny little pinhole. You see it right there? And it drained out all of my oil. So I'll have to go buy oil to put this back in, and I'll have to get a new hose to fix this one so I can stick it back on. And I'm still trying to figure out, this is still off just by a touch. Even prying it up, if you pry it up, you can get it to go up and it almost looks like it's lined, but then it's like off still by 1/8. So we gotta still figure that one out. And I think that's about it. So now I am looking through my book to figure out where and if and how the hydraulic gets connected to my bike. Okay, well, I'll be darned. That I thought would have been a master cylinder is not the master cylinder. It's really up there. So, looking at it and all the components, I'll probably have a lot more room running it up the cord or running it up the rod up here and into there. But see, look, there's one I got right there already. And then, so it'll probably get connected there. I really did not think that was a master cylinder. That's completely different than dealing with cars and trucks, and they're just so tiny. So I think that's the only spot. Yep, because that's the cables going out, your cables, your mechanical cables. So yeah, I think that's it right there. Let me double clip it somehow. All right, if it's not one thing, it's another. Put a little air plug in there to stop it from dripping. And that is the old one. But the new one, even I was just trying to see if I had to buy a different bolt to see if it needs to be bigger, does not fit. It's not big enough. The diameter is not big enough. So now I gotta find out if I can get a bigger diameter one. Just gotta look for some more stuff. All right, now the other issue. So now I'm gonna have to find one of the double hold bolts here. I think they're called banjo bolts or something like that. But I gotta find a double one with this thread, and then get a bigger hold one with this size, or well, however I can get the fittings set up to basically have a bigger diameter to fit this bolt, and a double hold bolt with this diameter to fit back in the master cylinder. All right, time to go find some more parts.